I have the supreme privilege of being joined this morning by actress Kimberly Crossman and World Vision Ambassador, who has travelled to Uganda, seen firsthand the impact of Kiwi child sponsorship over there. So I welcome to the show Kimberly this morning. Morena, great to have you on the show with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So
Lovely to
good.
be
So
here.
good to have you all the way from LA as well. So let's talk about what it was like for you. Let's go back to that moment when you got to meet your sponsor child, Jacqueline, for the first time face to face. What was that moment like for you?
I remember my husband came with me and we were both really nervous. I think it's like, I guess, walking into a community, like wanting her to really like us. And I just remember feeling really nervous and just so much love for her, but also didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. We're kind of like, there's a big, massive group of us sort of coming in, but she was. She diffused the situation with such delight. She has a great giggle. She wanted to show us her skipping immediately. And she had I guess weaved together some kind of like flax to make a skipping rope. So that was the first thing that when I did get back, I sent her what we would consider a proper skipping rope, a few of them. Um, but I was pretty emotional, to be honest. I think they really welcomed us. I think realizing when you are or you do have a sponsor child, how much you mean to them. Some of the other children in the community, they have photos of their Kiwi sponsors on like walls if they have kind of like a hut type situation. And yeah, I guess I didn't realize the impact and how important we are in their lives from their perspective. And so I guess I always have taken it seriously, child sponsorship, but I now take it with a lot more pride and a lot more seriousness, realizing the actual connection that they feel to people. So it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, it's the real difference, right, between having a future and not having a future. And the kids that get into that sponsorship program essentially get
Mhm.
their schooling covered, and their parents are like, oh, I can relax because my child is going to survive. They're going to get fed at school and they're going to get an education and they're going to get out of this rut that we're kind of stuck in. But I love what you mentioned about the skipping rope thing, how they were just weaving together flags and playing because they have so little. They are so appreciative of what they have, and they're so resourceful with what they find. I remember when we were in Tanzania visiting this village and these kids were kicking this ball around. It wasn't a ball, it was like a bundle of trash that they like rolled into a ball, and I thought, let's go buy them a ball. And we went looking
Mhm.
around and we went to shop after shop and we couldn't find a new ball. The closest we
Mhm.
could find over there was like a secondhand ball, which was going to cost 30 US dollars. And we were like, this is crazy. But the thing is, they're so far out there. They're so far removed from everything, and everything's on foot. No one has cars. So that getting stuff to them is a real challenge. But the great news is when World Vision goes in, right, they start bringing in infrastructure. They build schools, they build toilets, they give them water. What did you see when you were overseas? Because I know you also met someone else called Dorothy who has an incredible story as well.
Yes. Yeah. I think what I've seen is yes, those tangible items, but also a lot of the programs that they have in place. Like they had a women's savings group, so they can help, support each other, women who want to move into business, which was really amazing. And Dorothy in particular, she was fantastic. She actually has started a group of women who are advocating for against child marriage. And so helping educate other girls on how to say no. The difficulty with child marriage is it's not as simple as declining an offer. Quite often, there might be some kind of dowry or financial advance that will help a family out of a situation. So there's a lot of pressure on young girls to accept these offers of child marriage. And Dorothy's doing amazing work advocating for young girls, educating on them on that things can look different. But I mean, she's young. She was so young, and she was able to sort of stand up to, her mother at the time, her uncle at the time who was trying to marry her. And it's really risky and quite dangerous for some of these girls. So, what I love about child sponsorship is it's educating these young women about their rights and helping form community groups together so that they aren't make trying to make these big lofty changes on their own. And I was so impressed by that. And One of the other things, if I do have time just quickly, was that was really amazing that I saw in the schools is they were also teaching them how to make reusable sanitary pads. And I'm in my 30s and I still clutch a tampon when I go to the bathroom, but like trying to teach them to be really period proud. Because when girls would get a period, say at school, if they got shamed and things, chances are they wouldn't return to school. So trying to kind of normalize these conversations that I feel like even in our culture, we're not quite there on. So there was amazing programs in place to really help support these women through their teenagehood and into adulthood to really give them the best opportunities going forward. And I just feel so proud to be contributing to that work.
Mm.
That brings me a lot of joy. And all the communities I went to, and probably yourself too, are sponsored by Kiwi families.
Yeah.
So, the generosity of Kiwis is touching all these different corners of the globe. And, with things feeling really quite heavy globally at the moment, to have
Mm.
these little beacons of light and realize how generous Kiwis really are and how much impact they're making globally on these small communities is great.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing to sort of say that you're celebrating International Women's Day, which we just had over the weekend, and another to actually put those thoughts into action through sponsorship. Because, like you said, being a girl is much more challenging than being a little boy. And you talked about periods and the fact that I noticed in Tanzania the impact that putting in, they called it a disabled toilet, which is just a
Mm.
normal toilet like what we have that flushes with a sanitary box. Putting one of those in a school where there's about 300 kids who are going to use that one toilet at lunchtime made such a difference for these girls because they could go to school when they had their period and not stay home. And that was such a barrier because girls were missing out on education from that as well, let alone the hazards that they face and challenges with child marriage and not being seen as an equitable member of society. So the best thing about this is New Zealanders can actually stand in the gap and make change happen for these people by sponsoring. So what would you say is your favorite thing about sponsoring right now? And what would you say to encourage someone who's thinking about taking that leap?
I feel blessed. I was able to see it sort of firsthand, the impact it's making on these young girls in this community. What I would say is that your money is so well spent because if you sponsor one child, four children really get to that those funds ultimately help four children if you break it down. So you are impacting because the level and the education and the teachers and things like that all ships rise on an incoming tide. You're contributing to that community. And I just think that the ripple effect that your donation and sponsoring a child, that girl will help educate others in the community. She will help stand up. It'll help her change the trajectory of her life and the others around you. And I just think that's so many other things you could spend your money on. I understand that, but very few that have the same type of impact. So if it's
Absolutely.
something that you can afford to do and you can change someone's life and you're in a position to, then please do it. Please do it.
Amen to that. I mean, for 2 cups of coffee a week, when you break it down to change a life and change 5 lives and then a community, it is money well worth spent. Well, thank you so much, Kim Crossman, for joining me today to talk about the benefits of child sponsorship and how that decision can help change the world.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.